All right, good morning, friends. Happy Monday. Hope you guys are all doing well. Make sure this is not too loud. All right, so another fun week ahead, another week, another macro event. Who is excited to gamble on rate cuts? Not me. TLDR, the way that I trade around FOMC, CPIs, etc., or really any event for that matter, is just sticking to game plans, right? There's a little bit of game theory involved sometimes that you can get away with, whereas prices nuking into FMCs, they may bounce out. Prices pumping into FMCs and CPIs and macro events, they may nuke out, right? Reading between the lines of Powell's language and guidance and all that is not an edge that I have. It's not something I pay attention to. I haven't watched an FOMC since 2022 when I thought that I could find edge by listening to those. But it's been several years. I haven't cared about them, and I've done just fine. So if anyone has any, questions based on what I think of rate cuts and what I think of this and what I think is going to happen, TLDR, you're not going to get much value from me in that regard. Is the character you have in the intro any remote similarities to your looks IRL? Yes, I definitely have blue hair. I wish I could grow a mustache like that, though. Straight up. No real similarities. I'm not graying or old. All right. Let's see who's in chat. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm glad you guys like the intro. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. Hopefully there's going to be another iteration where we can add some stuff, make it a little longer, fine-tune some stuff. So pretty happy with it. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Thinking about joining Paragon to get some insights in your scalping system. How much you share there? Everything. Feel free. You'll see everything top to bottom. The crazy scribbles in the trading journal video. Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can get AI to do, right? I'm sure that we could work on that and make it better, but I almost love the scribbles. Is a black chart possible? It's evening for me. The thing is, I have all my stuff set on the white chart. I can use the dark chart here and there though. Can you share your trading journal template? I don't have a trading journal template. So the way that my journaling goes is it's with physical paper and pen. I don't have like an online trading journal. I have used a lot of like API trading journals in the past, like TradeStream when it was integrated into Insilico. And Coin Market Manager, way back in 2022, 2023. I haven't found much value using those. They're fun to look at, especially when you run up P&L and they look really clean. I've gotten value from them in the past as far as learning, what optimal trade time that I've had. You can mark setups and label them and see what your hit rates are in each of them. So it's provided me a lot of value in the past. It's good for, testing any new systems out and stuff like that, gathering data. But as far as stuff that I journal day to day, that's all done with a piece of paper and a pen. And there's no real template that I do it with. I'm not very strict in my nature of like, I gotta, journal this every single day. And no, it's just anything that I can learn from the session, any mistakes that I made that I need to figure out, anything that unique going on in the market that I want to remember, because we're going to forget things in days even, so much happens in crypto. You'll forget something by next week. Where do I put my stop? At 0, bro. What kind of bull are you? Okay. Stick to the plan 100%. When break the final boss on Frog? I don't know, man. Memes have not been great. I know there's a couple of them that are trading against the pack. Like PENGU, I think, is good. Maybe there's a few others. SPX was good this summer. FARTCOIN was going good earlier, but they haven't really been in the spotlight. You guys know, the same as I. What's in the spotlight right now is the, buyback coins, revenue coins, anything with a treasury company coin. Those are the things that are exciting to the market right now. I'm sure memes will have their time in the spotlight. I still have plenty of exposure to memes. Picked some up earlier this year. They're going up a lot. They go down a lot. I'm not really trading around them. My focus in 2025 has been trading majors, specifically Bitcoin. ETH sometimes when it's relevant, adding more and more ETH trades. But yeah, I mean, that's where the bulk of my money's coming from in 2025. I haven't really focused too much on altcoins, for better or for worse, right? There's a lot of stuff you could say that's beneficial to just locking in on one thing. But then you have to be able to mentally deal with like a 3-4x runner on pump fund and say, well, that's not my focus right now. As long as I'm hitting my Bitcoin trades and nailing them with size and conviction and clean execution, I really don't care, right? You guys have fun. How can I get your Discord link? Can you take me in? Well, the Paragon link is in the description box below, but you got to sign up for that one. As far as the clinic goes, that hasn't been public in years, and that's never going to be public again. We only have a decreasing number of members in there. It's never going to increase. Yeah, Nelly, hope you had a good weekend too. All right, let's get into the Bitcoin outlook. I believe, let's try to take it back and remember where we were last week and all the stuff we talked about, being optimistic, levels, momentum loss, etc. So let's find Monday. This is basically, well, actually, no, this is right here. We were crabbing underneath the daily trend and 12-hour trend, right? I had already told you guys, I speculated momentum loss coming into the weekly, our composite value area high from May and June. We had a lot of selling coming into these lows. We had 3 drives down on the daily time frame. We were showing signs of momentum loss on that 3-day weekend that we had, Labor Day weekend. And we started pushing up, right? And we built this really nice, clean value between our two, mega values, right? We had a long time spent between basically 100K and 110K. Then we spent a lot of time between call it 115 and 120, right? We're filling out that kind of lower volume region. We're bouncing around. We're holding 112 as resistance. We're holding 109 as support. My highest conviction trade or continuation was basically, if we can break above 113, we're going to fully fill that CME gap. And this is visualized very well with these gray candles right here. Now, one thing you guys are going to keep in mind is that the CME prices trade a little bit different than the Bitcoin USD or USDT prices, right? Sometimes there's going to be a little bit of a variation between the two. Oftentimes the CME is trading at a premium, right? So the numbers aren't going to match 1-to-1. But we did break cleanly above 113. We got an expansion candle, high volume, not fully retraced, was grinding up the whole way, blowing out shorts the entire way. And we fully filled that CME gap. I know it didn't fully fill on the USDT chart, but it fully filled on the CME chart, which I think is good enough for me, right? Where are we finding trouble now? We're finding trouble and we're getting a little bit of exhaustion from the bulls at the lower end or the composite value low of our basically July, August kind of range. That's the region that we need to break into, right? So above, you call it 116. We're going to call it 116 to keep it simple. Above this, clearance above this, acceptance above this, I expect us to rotate to the other side at 120. Below this, I don't think bulls are going to have a lot of conviction going into FOMC. People don't really put in a lot of risk into these macro events. Things tend to chop around. So it could be pretty choppy and ugly till about Wednesday, right? When that kind of stress or relief or whatever it is clears up that we always get with macro events. So next thing on a VWAP basis. I think this looks really clean on the monthly. We have been bullish since the start of September. We used our monthly VWAP as our launch pad to break away. We are retracing back to the value area high. I would love to see momentum loss in this region. I absolutely do not want to see, as a bull, as someone who pretty much longs only, I don't really want to see this trading back but below, call it 114.2. In my opinion, that brings in the monthly VWAP into play. So I don't want to see this rotate back in. If it does, I will be bullishly optimistic down here, but that kind of prevents me from really participating too much for this bleed. So this is the level that I want to see momentum loss occur at. If we do get momentum loss here, I'm going to bring it back to the other chart right here. You guys can look at how cleanly we have rotated between the two values above. So if we get back above 115, we show this momentum loss at the monthly value area high. Get back above 115, we can rotate back to 116. I don't know if we're going to break 116 and get that expansion, but these are the levels that we're working with locally. Underneath, like I mentioned, if we drop below 114, I think we're gonna bleed out quite a bit back into the 112s, maybe low 113s, but 112s are definitely in the cards as well. That's pretty much going to do it, right? Those are your simple game plans as far as, levels to work with, what you want to see, how we're going to rotate from point to point. Acceptance above 116 brings in much higher prices. Acceptance below 114 brings in much lower prices. We're kind of just chopping around. I don't expect too much to occur over the next day and a half until FOMC is cleared up. It could be the classic thing where New York session is just crap. We get a little bit of relief in Asia, and then we sell off again in New York, right? So whatever kind of momentum loss that we're seeing right now in the 114s, you could get probably a little bit of relief when the stock market closes in about 4 hours for the rest of the night. And then maybe a little bit of bleed and chop again tomorrow. Same thing, Wednesday until FOMC is over. So that's it there. I'm actually gonna grab a Red Bull, not a water today, because I'm exhausted. I'll be right back. All right. When Magus new intro, bro? I don't know. You tell me. I mean, I think your intro's still sick. I still love the old one, man. I kind of still feel like going back and forth between the two, but you know, I'm a guy that gets bored easily, so I'll probably you know, keep flip-flopping. New Magus intro at $250,000 BTC. Damn, that's a target. Like the stream, goobers. Yeah, appreciate likes, subscribes, all that good stuff. When you get into altcoins, interested on your updates on ENA, EIGEN, PENGU? Sure. Would have expected Doc to be a monster kind of guy. So I always started off with Red Bull. Monster is really popular on crypto Twitter, and sometimes I get influenced by crypto Twitter just like I shouldn't. So I tried a bunch of Red Bulls, or not Red Bulls, whatever they're called, Monsters, all those different flavors, and they all taste like, I don't know, the best way to describe it is all like liquefied Jolly Ranchers, if you guys know what Jolly Ranchers are. They're not bad, but yeah, I prefer Red Bull. Mag CS intro for a trading stream would actually be cracked. That'd be sick. What games have you been playing? I've been playing the finals for like a PvP game. I think it's super fun with friends. And then I got Borderlands this weekend, but it keeps crashing. And I don't know if it's my PC or the game. I haven't really looked into it, but I haven't been able to like enjoy it for that long because the game keeps crashing. Next upgrade would be gamer supplements. Yeah, imagine that. What's the thing everyone shills? The electrolyte thing on Twitch? Let me get one of those sponsors, guys. Use my code at checkout. Borderlands low-key more fun than I expected. Here's the thing with Borderlands. I come from playing Destiny. That's my looter shooter. And I think, so far, I think I only have like 3 hours in Borderlands. Destiny's like 500 times better. Yeah, I've never played Borderlands before. My friend said, let's just get it and check it out. So we did. All right. So, yeah. Not much else to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to have to see the way that this plays out over the next 4-hour candle. We just got another candle close here. So we are trading into the 12-hour. I suspect bulls... Wait, wrong one. I suspect bulls will put up a little bit of a fight right here. Monthly value area high, 12-hour trend. I don't think they get a free ride all the way back, you know, with no fight in this area. I think bulls put up a little bit of a fight. That's what I'm speculating on. That's what I'm betting on, actually. PC performance dog shit will get fixed. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, it's not that enjoyable when you get kicked out of a game and reloading everything. A bunch of games that I play load instantly on PC, but Borderlands is kind of crap. It takes a few minutes for the game to boot up. Compiling shaders and all that. Okay, let's go over to ETH. I think ETH is equally clean. I think you guys remember me saying this all the way back towards the middle or end of August that I think a multi-month composite's going to kind of form here. So far has played out pretty well. We're getting a lot of buying at the lows, right? Absorption, like this was a really bad bleed on Bitcoin, guys. What did ETH do? It kind of just rounded off at these lows. That led me to, you know, actually nailing the trade out of this chop. I avoided all of this. I waited for, you know, the event, which was CPI. We got the whipsaw. Was able to long through that, also picked up some spots. So this is a really good trade for me. Ended up closing out the perps here, still holding the spot. I want to be perp long again, probably from a little bit lower. Right now, my focus is going to be on Bitcoin. If ETH gives me one of these or one of these, I don't know if we're going to get the weekly trend, but any two in the 4Ks or 4200s would be really nice opportunity. If we do round off here, which I want to show you quickly, is the quarterly value area high. I'm going to remove the monthly for a minute. When I get too many VWAPs on here, things look pretty ugly. Yeah, if this rounds off right here, I may speculate on this in a day or two, but as of right now, I'm not in a hurry to take any longs on ETH. I think the cleaner one is on Bitcoin at this moment. We'll see what ETH forms, but this is kind of the generalized region I'm looking for it to hold. If we rotate back into the quarterly value, then some of these lows get cleaned up, which I think will pre-prime opportunity again. Solana, I think I've told you guys on the cookbook, the streams and everything like that, that the goated meta right now in Solana is you bet at the daily trend for your swing basis, and then you de-risk when the hourly trend is lost, right? Here you go. Daily trend, de-risk when the hourly trend is lost. Daily trend, de-risk when the hourly trend is lost. You guys can see this rinsing and repeating. Look at the monster hourly trend that you got up here. If you de-risked even at these lows, I think you're pretty happy, right? Because now you have the opportunity. You know, I can't predict if this is going to fully fill, but I would say if it does, once again, this is prime swing opportunity around the 220s to take Solana swing longs, right? It can also be the factor that we just kind of range up here and this thing catches up a little bit later. But definitely if you get the daily trend in play, I think that's an opportunity on Solana. If I go to the higher time frames here, you guys can see how clean of a level this actually is, right? Our first half of 2024 highs, it provided contextual value in this location as well. The grind up underneath 210, right? Big blast off. We retrace back in the daily here. No perfect retest would be ideal, and give us a daily trend tag. I think that's opportunity to play Solana for a leg higher. Once I fix it, you try it out. Surprisingly fun. Yeah, I mean, I bought the game, so I definitely would be interested in playing. Not much out right now. That's super interesting. Finals is the best PvP. Let's run it. Finals is surprisingly fun. You know, I played it when the game came out, and then like rotated to other games. And we recently went back to the finals, and I've been having a lot more fun this time around. I got a question about the VWAP. I figured out that the moment I switch between timeframes, the calculation is slightly different, and the rules on which time frame I should use the VWAP. So VWAPs are different than EMAs. EMAs would be based on the number of bars, right? So if you have a 100 EMA, it's based on the most recent 100 candlesticks. 200 EMA, most recent 200 candlesticks, so on and so forth. You know, input whatever value you want. With VWAPs, what we tend to do is fix them based on sessions or weeks, months, quarters, or years. So if I go over the VWAP scan right here, you'll see, right, I've got my yearly VWAP, my quarterly, monthly, weekly, and then for my intraday trading, everything is really done on the daily, right? So daily VWAPs right here, right? And you also include your standard deviation bands. So if you have maybe a VWAP indicator that's like set to chart, you may want to like look in your settings. Maybe I'll find the trading view one and go through this real quick. So yeah, maybe you have something on your VWAP settings that's something like based on chart. So, you know, you could fix it to session, which means day, week, month, quarter, year, whatever. Borderlands 2 was goated. Nice. Yeah, I didn't play it back then. What is the daily trend? Someone hit the exclamation point trend in chat, and you'll see all the values for the EMAs. Oh, snap. I love you, Offer. I love you. Thank you. Okay, we look at ONDO, 100%. I actually liked ONDO over the weekend. I don't like it as much today. I wanted to see us, so like, let me go to the VWAP scan real quick and we'll pull up ONDO and then we'll come back. So ONDO's been pretty balanced on the quarterly, right? Extremely balanced on the quarterly. What I was looking for ONDO to do was try to hold value outside of the quarterly, right? If we were able to do that, I think it was ready and set for expansion because the confluence here was your yearly value area high. So you were trading above 2 key levels, and I thought that would have been really, really clean for trend or for high time frame continuation. Now, obviously, the market doesn't want to be that bullish going into FOMC, but nonetheless, this would have been a very, very clean trade if we were able to hold about 105. Since it's bleeding lower, I'm not really going to care too much. Like I said, it's just rotating between values. So treat it like a range. Bullish at discounts. What do you want? What word am I looking for? Like I said, I'm tired. Bullish at discounts and you know, reserve your bullishness at a premium. But I would have loved to see this holding above 105, right? That could have opened up really nice moves up to 120. The fact that we're trading back in just tells me, hey, it's still in a range bound environment. You're going to need much lower prices or reclaims above 105, 106 in order to open this up, right? If bulls don't defend at the level that the bulls should defend, it's like, why should I? Why should I care about it? Super fun, but it died very quickly. Yeah. I mean, it tends to happen, right? I still think it's fun though. It's not. I mean, it's not like a fucking super serious game, right? It's silly. It's just fun to play with friends, man. It can be pretty sweaty because there are really good players in there, but yeah. Yes, but the weekly VWAP got different values on a daily chart and then 4 hour, for example. I was wondering if that's normal for a VWAP. Let's see. What'd you say? Weekly has different values on different time frames. So let's try this. I don't think that's normal. So you're basically saying when you switch time frames, these levels move around a little bit. Yeah, I mean, to me that doesn't really matter if it moves $1 or 2 cents or whatever like that. I think that's just like a visual thing. The lower the time frame you go, the more clean it's gonna be. The higher time frame you go, the more like difficult it's gonna be to read those things. If that's what you mean, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Pepe fake out was pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, I own spot Pepe and I haven't really done anything with it. I haven't taken trades on it in a long time. The only thing I did recently was the last time we touched that anchored, I sold some Pepe, bought some a little bit lower. That's all I've done on Pepe. The key trade that I want is probably going to be this. Like, I'm probably not going to care about Pepe until we get above this. Because I would like to play this rotation. I think this is going to be banger. Down in here, I'm not really interested in just longing range lows and then selling range highs and whatever. If I'm going to trade intra-week, it's going to be on Bitcoin, the bread and butter. From one doc to another, you should know better than to touch those energy drinks for pure poison. Hey, man. I don't know if you know the lore, but I am a failed physician in this chat. Nah, I understand. There's a lot of things I do nowadays that are not that healthy. At a lifetime of pure health. And now I've lost a little bit of discipline in that regard for sure. What up, guys? What up? How much does your high time frame analysis play into your intraday Bitcoin trades? High time frame analysis is your bias formation. The more directional edge that you have using your high time frame and medium time frame to pick a direction will give you confidence in holding your entries past resistance or not. They will also tell you who's in control of the market and whether you're taking a counter trend trade on an intraday or you're taking a, with the trend trade on an intraday, right? It's also giving you key levels to work with, right? The more confluence there is in a region, the more either buying or selling power there is in the market, right? And that'll tell you how successful your triggers can be at key locations. So I would say it plays in a lot. It plays in a lot for both like levels to look for and confidence in, where the trade could play out too, right? After entry and stuff like that. So it's critical and it's key. You can definitely trade without it, but I think it helps a lot to know key levels that you're working with, to spot and scope if you can take trades there. RSI on Bitcoin dominance. Looks like we might see a reversal at some point. What do you think of that? I don't care much about RSI. You guys probably see it. It's on my charts. I think it's fun to look at once in a while, but I don't use it actionably in my trading. We can look at Bitcoin dominance in a minute though. Hype for sure. I will not forget hype or pump fun or any of the other tickers that are very popular right now. How do you make your alert lines look like that? Wait, what are we talking about? So there's two ways that I set alerts. Maybe this will answer your question without me knowing. One is you just go over to the price bar, and you see this little plus sign. You click the plus sign, you click add alert, boom, you have an alert set. The other way that I like to do it is I anchor it to a price point. So if I want an alert at this swing high, I just drop this line here, and I have a preset for alert. That makes it very thin and non-intrusive. Lock and set an alert. Those are the two ways that I do it. Like you guys can barely see that line on there. At least you don't drink alcohol. Facts, dude. Facts. If you had to pick some memes, which ones would you hold for 2 months? The ones that I have are PEPE and FARTCOIN. I probably wouldn't pick FARTCOIN right now if I had to pick one. Probably wouldn't pick PEPE either. It's gonna be the strong ones. Here's the issue with memes though, guys, is that they get fully saturated and then they're cooked, right? So you saw this play out with Popcat last year, where Popcat was the strongest meme all summer. And if you bought into that strength thesis, once everyone kind of submitted to it, it was the top. It didn't matter that Bitcoin ripped to 100K. Popcat put in a fart push on that Bitcoin move, and it was it, and it was over and went to zero, right? FARTCOIN did something similar this year. It had an absolute ripper. Everyone kind of submitted to the thesis, and now it's been kind of cooked and not doing much sense. What else? Right, the strongest conviction I've ever had in a coin this cycle, you've heard me say it a million times, is PEPE. I wouldn't have the same conviction anymore. I have this just to have chips on the table. I bought this consolidation down here. Like I said, I sold some up here. I bought some back a little bit lower, but that's really it. I'm not really locked in with altcoins right now, to be honest. I think actually Doge looks really good. Now I'm remembering this. Okay, so I would say Doge, right? I would say probably Doge is the cleanest. If it comes back down and puts in another accumulation right here, I think this is a good coin to look at buying. It's actually stronger than the lower cap ones, right? This is a high cap, mega cap meme coin, top 10 coin in the industry. The structure looks infinitely better than stuff like FARTCOIN, like PEPE, etc. I'm sure there's coins like PENGU out here that look pretty good. But yeah, if I had to suggest someone to buy a meme coin at this moment, I would say Doge. Is it going to give you the best returns ever? No. But yeah, that's my answer. $12-hour trend, new tech? No. very, very, very old tech. Very old tech. My trend following is based on the most respected trend, right? So sometimes, and a lot of times in crypto, it's the 4 hour. Sometimes it's the 1 hour. Sometimes it's gonna be the 12 hour. There's time frames that don't even open. Like I'm not gonna open the 2 hour time frame or the 6 hour time frame or the 14 hour time frame. It's just the time frames you see on the top of your screen. Those are the ones I look at. So those are the ones I'll look at trends on. How do you make the alert from the bar invisible, like without the dash line? Just turn the volume, or look. So line, black, here's like, make it as thick as possible. Just do that. And it's invisible now. Oh, how do you make the alert from the... I didn't read your thing. Invisible? I have no idea. If I did something, it was a long, long time ago. Maybe something in here. Alerts. There you go, alert lines. Turn that off. Okay. Let's move on to Hyperliquid. So Hyperliquid, there was a time somewhere in here where I was saying it looks a little heavy. We've been knocking at the same door of the same resistance for a little bit. Excuse me. Obviously, when Bitcoin pumps, it gives the freedom to everything in the market to pump. The thing that you love the most about Hyperliquid here is it didn't just fart push above that resistance. It God candled through it. This is a really strong impulsive move through resistance. Yes, it's retracing. I think dips are for buying. Let's see if there's any trends in here that we could find confluence with. Meh. Not the greatest. I'm going to put my things back on here. Yeah, so quarterly was extremely rotational. Perfect value, rotating from the highs to the lows. You've pushed far away from the quarterly now. So if at some point price meets the quarterly, that is a very clean region to look for Hyperliquid to hold and play for a higher high. Right now, I think it's a bit early. Like I mentioned to you guys a couple times before, I don't trade Hyperliquid that much. So the way that I prefer to trade Hyperliquid is if I'm bullish on Bitcoin, you could take a proxy bet on Hyperliquid. So if right now we're looking for Bitcoin to round off for all the reasons that I told you guys, obviously the entire market will bounce with Bitcoin, right? So what you would have to break this down to if you want to trade something like this is some lower time frame levels, stabbing into the lows a bunch of times. There's a big bleed here. You'd be looking for these lows to round off, maybe some intraday levels you could work with. 2 standard deviation value area low. We are showing a bit of momentum loss in this location, so those could be some triggers to play continuation on a high time frame basis. I think the best bid is going to come if these two values meet. This is a really big gap, so it's probably not going to be in the cards, and if it does happen, it'll probably happen a little bit later. Actually, it's not going to happen. I just realized it's absolutely not going to happen because we only have 15 days left in the quarter. So in the next 15 days, this gap's not going to get filled unless the market absolutely gets obliterated. What's going to happen is a new quarterly is going to form very soon. But really clean levels to work with, both on a trend basis, price action basis, support resistance basis, quarterly value basis. Like, I think Hype looks good, man. The simplest thing I would say for Hyperliquid is bet when you're bullish on Bitcoin, and I've already explained the whole Bitcoin analysis. Failed physician, successful trading view support. Let's go. That's the new Twitter bio. I appreciate you answering every question here and understand people are not so experienced. Yeah, I mean, that's what the stream is for, man. Listen, at the core of all of this, you guys don't understand. If it wasn't for people like Magus, like EXO, there's C2M, who else? Trader Main, all these guys that stream on YouTube, provide information, write threads, put out educational material. If it wasn't for them in 2021, 2022, I would not be the trader that I am today. So like I built all my stuff off the back of everyone else out there that was sharing free information, right? Pierre, you know, CBS, all these guys, Loma, like any edges that you find in the market, Huss with the trader psychology and stuff like that. He has so much, you know, high IQ takes in the market that I learned from. He actually taught me a lot about the hedge unwind trade. He put out a thread in 2022 talking about the hedge unwind trade, and that's something I use to my advantage to trade around macro events. So what I just told you guys a little bit earlier, that information actually came from Huss. So I'm kind of just paying it forward. And yeah, you know, these streams started from day one of I'm just going to put my shit out there. I'm going to talk about the trades, the setups, the analysis, and that's it. It's just like a ledger of you know, progress. And people started watching and they started growing and they asked questions, and I'm happy to answer. Let's talk about Athena. Athena's coming into the daily trend now. Quarterly value rate high, yearly value rate high. This is a place where I think the bulls absolutely need to hold this. Below, let me just zoom out and show you this. The daily's been super clean. Super, super, super clean. Does it look great on the weekly with this wick? No, it does not. If the daily is lost, this is definitively a range-bound asset. Put your range high up here. Put our range lows down here. This is going to be where you'd be looking for next on Athena, right? Be probably a clean gap from the daily down to the weekly. There's your speculated range lows. So this is a must-hold region if Athena is still in a high time frame uptrend. If it's not, it's going to retrace here, and you're going to get some choppy range-bound price action. You're going to need to use the weekly in order to reclaim the daily, retest the daily, and then you'll get your move out. So it'll be a couple days or weeks of repair on Athena if you can't hold at this location. So if Bitcoin drives any lower, this is going to be cooked, and you're probably going to be looking for the 60s. Bro, what do you think about where we are going on Bitcoin? So I already did the entire Bitcoin analysis. If you missed it, you could always just rewind the stream. Even while we're live, you could just go back and rewatch that. It's somewhere in the beginning, maybe like 10 minutes in. 5-10 minutes in after the stream started. But yeah, everything was covered there. If you have any specific questions that wasn't covered, feel free to ask. CSPX, I will in a minute. I'll go through other stuff. Let's see what else we missed in here. I don't really care about too many of these coins. Let's talk about Pump. So, not one that I've traded or watched too much. You know, down here I was looking at a little bit. I haven't really paid attention to this rally too much. One thing I will mention is that the 4-hour trend has been goated on this. It's basically put in a 3-4x or whatever it's been off this 4-hour trend, right? One continuous trend the entire way up. Your eyes as bulls should be on this trend. The minute this is lost, it is going to probably retrace down to the daily. Now, the daily is going to move up as well. You know, we could ping pong here, but if the 4-hour is lost, it brings in this gap, and this is kind of the suspected levels that I have for Pump Fund for if and when that occurs in this location. Of course, it could just hold the 4-hour trend and push up another 40%. So if you're a bull, you want to be optimistic the 4-hour trend, you want to de-risk on 4-hour trend loss. Very, very simple plans. The last one that we saw trading this well on a 4-hour trend, I think it was like useless. We haven't had many like super strong 4-hour trenders. This is probably the last one that was giga strong on the 4-hour. Kind of said the exact same thing here. Where's Pump? I'm kind of saying the same thing here. I'm not calling for this to break right here, but I'm saying, you know, if you're failing to close and hold above this wick and you're going to lose the 4-hour trend up here, it's going to probably sell off quite a bit down to the daily. Is there anything else I want to talk about? Not really. Someone asked about Bitcoin dominance. So Bitcoin dominance is in a very strong daily downtrend. We haven't had many of these. If we look at this on a weekly time frame, this is a very clean level that Bitcoin dominance is respected. Yes, Bitcoin dominance is a meme. Levels are memes. You know, save it. I don't care. Things that work. It doesn't matter. We don't have to ask every question of why. So anyways, the point being, this was a weekly uptrend from the FTX lows until most recently in June, right? This is a definitive breakdown under the weekly trend. The weekly trend has now pointed downwards, right? We are in a fresh weekly downtrend, right? We have taken out the lows that set to the highs. Any push-ups from here, I believe, should be lower highs on Bitcoin dominance or equal highs, right? I don't think Bitcoin dominance probably continues and puts in another massive leg to 70 or 80 or whatever. I think it's more likely that this kind of puts in either a complacency shoulder or equal highs and kind of rolls over. If there's going to be a bounce, this is a pretty decent location for that to occur. And if you look at, you know, I think like stuff like Sol ETH, not Sol ETH, what am I trying to say? Sol BTC. I think a lot of this has been relief, right? And you're coming back into old values in this location, right? So it could be a little bit of an interim trouble zone for something like a Sol BTC. Let's check out ETH BTC. You want to see this holding the daily. If this fails to hold the daily, you're going to get a gap down to the weekly. Obviously, ETH BTC going down means Bitcoin dominance going up. If this happened, I think this is prime opportunity for ETH. And probably, you know, all coins across the market, right? Because this is that same thesis that we put forth of Bitcoin dominance putting in a lower high, right? Complacency shoulder high, and this would be ETH BTC putting in a correctionary low and ideally a higher high. Total 3 hit all-time highs, which, you know, pat yourself on the back. Bulls, we made a new all-time high on total 3. Yeah, not much to it, right? This thing gets nutty when we're in price discovery, right? And what is going to aid this the most is again, I think ETH breaking out into price discovery, right? So ETH has just been kind of consolidating up towards these highs. I think if ETH gets into its own kind of, you know, chop from here and push up, I think every altcoin in the market's going to send alongside. And this is really probably your capstone, you know, cycle top kind of euphoric rally across the market for everything, if and when that occurs. Okay, let's see, any alt requests? Let me scroll up. I'm sure you guys asked some stuff that I forgot. Cards, syrup, say, sure. Cards. I mean, new-ish coin. I'm sure there's more price history below here. I don't know what market cap this is at. Maybe I'll look at this on telemetry in a minute. Somewhat clean. Not really though. Let's look at some lower time frame trends and get rid of the listing anchored. Okay, pretty clean on the hourly. Ran some lows, but I don't think are relevant on lower cap coins with low liquidity, and you know, running lows doesn't really matter other than people who psychologically think they matter, and it becomes self-fulfilling. All you're looking for here is this H1 trend to get reclaimed, right? So if you're bullish on this, you're just keeping an eye on the H1 trend, whether we come lower or round off in this location. Getting back above this is conducive to another rally upwards. Kind of look at the last couple times that this played out the same way. Here, here, and possibly here, here. Kind of just choppy, ugly grind up. Not much to add to that. Syrup. This is a coin that a lot of people asked me about in the past and have not asked me about in several months, and I assume because it doesn't look that good anymore. All right, there's more price history somewhere, right? Yeah. There we go. I mean, it looks okay. Looks okay. Doesn't look great, but it looks okay. So similar situation. We were probably tracking this daily trend. Daily trend broke down. We're looking for the gap from the daily to the weekly. You got that. You had trade opportunities off the weekly. As I always say, first test, best test. So the first test of this region gave you the biggest bounce. Since then, it's been uglier and choppier. You definitely do not want to see this lose the weekly trend. Yes, deviating this kind of random SR level is not going to be a big deal, but underneath the weekly gets pretty ugly, right? So bulls want to see this defended. If you are long on here or bullish on syrup, you definitely want to see 40s held. The worst you want to see is the daily 200, which is promptly reclaimed. And then to develop bullish market structure, you're gonna have to take out the highs that led to the lows, right? And then look for a higher low, and that'll be your indication that, hey, we could possibly start pushing away from this, right? Because when you tag a certain level a bunch of times, you're either looking for one of two things, right? You're looking for market structure breaks and momentum loss, a lot of selling drilling into those lows that are unable to break you down. A deviation reclaim helps you mark out invalidation for continuation. But yeah, you don't really want to deal too much with something like this in the interim. The best trades that you can take are first test, best test. Say it's been 84 years. It's funny that it's September right now, and that reminded me of last year in September. I was trading Say. I was bullish on this sometime last year in September. We had a really strong month on alts in September of last year. I don't know if you guys remember that. But because it was September and I haven't traded alts a lot, I thought it was funny. I was remembering back to the last time I ran up a good alt trading account was September last year. The key thing here is the same analysis I've said before, is like, you don't really want to be in coins that are putting in lower highs as Bitcoin is putting in higher highs. The rally on the left, that is 60K Bitcoin. The rally in the middle, 100K Bitcoin. Where we are on the right, 125K Bitcoin, right? So it's getting less and less impressive the higher and higher Bitcoin goes. Yeah, I know there's this fabled alt season idea where it doesn't matter. Everything under the sun is going to pump. It doesn't matter what asset you have. You will be saved by the fabled alt season. But, at least maybe try to pick assets that are at least trading well, right? Yeah, not too much to say on Say, to be honest, outside of that. Later, Frank. For newly listed coins, do you wait for the anchored VWAPs to be flipped before bidding, keeping an eye on HOLO for this potential? What I like to do with the anchors is allow it to tell me in simple fashion if it's staying within value or able to break outside of it. So you can use it with the values, you can use it without. So what's the coin you said? HOLO? Let's do the MEXC chart. So this, it's pointed down, so like obviously the listing anchor is going to be down. So anything that launches and immediately goes straight down like this, 100% you're going to need the listing anchor to be flipped. You don't really want to be in a coin like this. Just let it die. Let it do whatever it wants to do. Ignore it. If valuation gets so low that you're like, oh, okay, like this is the cheapest thing ever, yeah, you could buy it on a fundamental basis, but you don't really need to buy a bleed. If you just want to trade and you're okay giving up, whatever this move ends up being back into the anchored, you can simply just wait for this to be flipped, because this being flipped gives you your crazy expansionary trade. You can use this the other way too, right? If a coin launches and kind of goes up only off the listing anchored and then loses it eventually, that can be your invalidation for momentum off the the initial rally, right? This is like, you can reverse engineer this like we did with Grass. Grass was the coin that I bought literally on launch day, 60 cents. I took multiple trades on this at the listing anchored. Where's the, right? Multiple trade opportunities, 1, 2, 3, 4. When this was lost, I was out and I have not really looked back. I think I took one trade on Grass in here, but pretty much since this is lost, I have not cared about this coin whatsoever. CRV. Okay, I mean, really strong rally, has obviously been selling off, bearish market structure. All you want to see for something like this is this for it to round off, right? Here's another momentum loss structure where you're putting in lower highs and lower lows. Eventually you round off and start going sideways. This is where you can speculate on saying, hey, this is a local consolidation here. If we're going to push up from this region, we should not accept below this local range, right? Similar here, like you got a little bit of that happening, but I would give this a little bit of time, right? I would allow this to maybe do something like this first, give it another week or so and see if you can still continue holding this region before attacking CRV. The level's okay, the market's a little shaky, you know, if Bitcoin sells off from here and loses like 114.2, this is probably gonna come a little bit lower. So can you check Hyperliquid? We already did, man. Already did. Total 3 ES, not all-time high. Have to exclude stables. I don't really care. It's a chart that I've used for a long time. Trades clean, gives good bias. That's the one that I've used for a long time. I don't care about the stable argument. At the end of the day, whether it's an indicator, a chart, or whatever, as long as you are effective using it, it doesn't really matter, right? There's no, like, this is better, this is right. All right, SPX and Pengu. I hate the way SPX, every time I look at this, I'm like, I just look at it and go, what a mess. Every time I've ever looked at this. Probably not a coin that I can trade effectively. I've never taken a trade on this. The cleanest levels that I have are the green and black ones, right? So if you do get to bid here, that looks clean. Not the best trend respecter in the market. There's so many wicks above, wicks below on several different time frames. This isn't just the daily. But several different time frames. It's pretty ugly on a trend-based perspective. You built some value right here. We pushed upwards. We got that momentum loss, traded back down. The best thing that you could see is for this to set a higher low, right? You set a higher low here. Otherwise, look for the $1 level, psychological level, clean support resistance level, multiple times support and resistance. So that would be the cleanest place to look for this. Other than that, you would look for this higher low in this location. You set a higher low in this location, this actually looks pretty damn decent. Pengu, I believe, trades much cleaner than SPX. If I'm going to trade one of these two, it's going to be this coin. Man, if you are lucky to get this at the weekly, you take it. If you get this confluence in this region, I think this is a trade you 100% take. Confluence of price action, weekly trend. I think it's super clean, right? We're setting support here. The weekly trend is catching up. This is a location you want to defend as a bull. This is a prime location. You could set invalidations based on the weekly as well. So, I mean, just from a market structure perspective, right? What did you do? You had a really strong uptrend. This is your bearish market structure, lower highs and lower lows. You've taken out the high that led to the low. This is conducive to accumulation, momentum loss, right? And possibly trend reversal. So you want to be bullish down here if and when price gets here. For listing anchor, do you always search for the chart with maximum history? Spotter perp chart makes a difference. So you have to be a little discretionary with it, and you know, not a lot of coins are going to get perps right away, right? If you get a perp chart, it's going to do more volume than spot. If the perp chart forms, is it going to form at the lows, or is it going to form after a 3x rally, right? Like Binance listing the coin on perps after a 3x rally, right? All of these things factor in. The easiest way that I like using listing anchors is on a brand new coin. So if a coin just launches and it just has TGE and it's a brand new coin, then yes, the first chart that launches is the one that I'm going to use, whether it's MEXC or Binance. Obviously, if Binance is available, I'm going to use Binance because Binance is going to do more volume than MEXC. So, you know, using volume indicators on the highest volume chart makes the most sense to me. EIGEN if possible. Downtrend, accumulation. The two ways that I play breakouts are either on a trend-based perspective or if we God candle through resistance. So since you're just kind of pushing up and back below, you'll be looking for trends to hold here. And let's see if there's any that are valuable. Nope. 4-hour trend was pretty clean. You got above resistance. You weren't able to hold it. You didn't put in a strong expansion. Now you're losing the 4-hour trend. Probably retraces quite a bit. The last couple times you've failed at this range high, you've retraced all the way to range mid. If that's in the cards and you're still bullish on EIGEN, that would be the place to pick up some spot. Other than that, what you want to see from this coin is a really, really, really strong expansion above 160, a shallow consolidation. This tells you that this coin is ready to move from a choppy range-bound environment into an expansive trending environment. That's the trade that you want to take, right? So in a range, try to bid at a discount. Don't be that optimistic at a premium. The way that you trade a premium is you look for expansion away from value and then a shallow retrace, and then look for longs in this region if and when that forms. Syrup boys had to abandon ship. TOKABU? TOKABU. I think I've seen that. That's the really ugly meme thing, right? I know a couple people printed a lot of money on this one. That can't be it. Am I spelling it wrong? The one that I'm thinking of was a pure crime coin. The chart literally looked like this for like 2 months. Can we look at the BONK chart? Sure. Thoughts on pump with stream launch, etc. So I already covered pump. I'm not gonna, you know, try to Nostradamus some, you know, narrative-based trade on it. I think the best thing to do is just be a trend respecter and trend follower. Very simple game plans on pump fund. It's respecting EMAs beautifully. So trades on pump should be around that. I mean, full retrace, right? This is where you want to see momentum loss occurring again, and then you could send it again. What's his name? DGen Spartan has an unbelievable chart that compares crypto to stocks, right? And it looks like this. The top one's going to be stocks, right? It's like they go up only, they have dips, and they go up only. And then in crypto, it's like flat, pump, like this. I actually don't remember the exact drawing and how he drew it. But the essence is in equities, every like randomly, not randomly, how did he say it? He said every once in a while, supply dramatically overwhelms demand. You buy that shit. And then in crypto, every once in a while, demand will drastically overwhelm steady supply. You sell that shit. And this is like the perfect example of the BONK chart. Do you have any interest in trying to play an RWA for the end of this cycle? I think the only one that fits in that category would be ONDO. That's probably the only one that I would trade. And the reason I would pick this one is because it's already had multi-month consolidation. This to me just looks like it's waiting to rip, right? Like if this breaks out, or not if, when it breaks out, I think you get a clean trade to like 160s, right? So that's like a 60% move. Being able to nail the entry on this one and ride this to like the 160s, I think is a trade worth taking. Now it depends on how you want to trade this, or maybe me, I guess. I'm probably not gonna want to just pick up spot in the accumulation range. I'll probably rather try to play the momentum when we can actually break out of this. This is why I was looking at it over the weekend. I was kind of looking at ONDO right here and saying, okay, if we can hold up here, maybe there's something that we can at least spark a bit of interest, if not to 160, which I thought was out of the cards, but at least maybe to yearly value very high. But dropping back into quarterly value, you know, I'm gonna ignore it for now. I'm not gonna be buying the dip on ONDO or anything. Probably, I won't say like for sure, but I probably won't. The BlackRock narrative was so prevalent this cycle, but I guess myself and others expected that to be an RWA rally too, not just ETF offerings. I mean, here's the thing. When I bought ONDO way back when this coin launched, it was literally because of BlackRock coin. Again, I bought this like day one, 20 cents when it came out. Actually lower. I bought this extremely low. I think I bought this at 8 cents. I bought this on the Bybit listing at an unbelievable entry price. And yes, I did sell this rally, but I reaccumulated. And it was one of my best trades last year. Highest conviction, one of my best trades. I haven't really messed with it too much this year. I actually didn't really catch this rally either. I was out over here and didn't really catch too much of this. PENGU under 3 billion feels cheap. Have you seen IP? No, I can look at it. How do you execute SPX trade on a higher low? I assume you mean higher low, not hyperliquid. Where would you enter? Where would you cut it? Would you give an example? I could, but here's the thing. Let me prefix this. If you ask me on Bitcoin, I can give this to you to a T. If you ask me on ETH, Solana, whatever, you ask me on SPX, a coin that I don't trade and I don't like the way it trades, I'm not going to give you the best answer. I have never in my career taken a trade on SPX. I've never wanted to. I've never cared about this coin. So therefore, what I have to do whenever I look at a brand new chart that I've never traded is go through it, ask myself, what is the most respected trends? Is it a price action trading coin? Has it gone and traded really well on breakers? Has it traded really well on order blocks? Does it respect just simple SR, which it seems like it is? Does it respect VWAPs? And then I make plans based on that. When I quickly scan these for you guys, I just do the best of my ability in 30 seconds. So if I actually had to take a trade on SPX, the best trade that I can immediately find is ignore the fuck out of this coin until we're back above 140 and then try to play momentum. That would be the highest EV trade. If someone put a gun to my head and said, Doc, you have to trade this coin, I'd say, okay, I'm setting an alert right here. If I get an expansionary move, I'm going to try to catch a move where we can break strongly above 140, give me a shallow pullback, consolidate in this location, and validate underneath 146, and I'll look to play this towards like 150. I'm not going to care too much about this chop. Now, if there's any other coin, what I would say, I would take a fixed range volume profile. I'd say that's a very clean comp that was built here. I don't know why TradingView is taking 2 hours to load. Okay, screw it. Doesn't matter. The levels aren't going to matter too much. I would say this is your range lows. What I want to see is this round out in this location. I almost don't even want a perfect retest right here. I want this to round off and front run. You've tagged a bit of your expansion candle. Round off in this location. Do not give a perfect retest. And then look for the most relevant trend along this uptrend to be flipped. So let's look at this. For me, it's going to be the hourly. The minute that the hourly was lost, it entered into chop and it retraced. So what I'd be looking for in this location, momentum loss and reclaim of the H1 trend. We get momentum loss, reclaim of the H1 trend, market structure break, higher low pullback. That's a location for me to enter. I'm going to be looking for Bitcoin for confluence. If I'm bullish on Bitcoin on that day, we've got the setup on SPX. That's going to be the trade that I take. Whatever lows that form here, or momentum loss that forms here, underneath that momentum loss is going to be my invalidation because I'm going to be looking for fresh momentum out of this hole. That's the way that I would trade SPX right now. If I had to take it here, the best trade available is going to be up there. This trade right here, you know what's going to happen? Even if I catch this trade, I'd say, gun to my head, we're not going to set a higher high. Gun to my head, you're probably going to set a lower high and you're going to have to do it again, right? So this trade with all this effort, the way the Bitcoin looks and everything seems less EV versus let this chop itself to pieces. And once you get this clearance, I can use this level with this invalidation and play the continuation. Right chart on screen. Oh, was that the Tabuku? Tabuku? EIGEN had a parabolic opportunity to break this comp trend on the 4-hour weekly and 4-hour. So it had the opportunity to break. Yeah. I mean, you traded above the highs, you traded above the weekly. The thing is, the weekly's in a downtrend but flattening out, right? It's not going to be the best long bias indicator. It's still a short biased indicator, right? The weekly is still favoring shorts in this location. This isn't something that you just go, oh, we wicked above it, that means we've cleared the weekly and I'm going to take longs. It's more conducive to, it's still range high, right? You get one of these candles though, now you have the opportunity to make a big trade, right? Why deal with all of this unless you're hyper bullish on this? So you're fundamentally bullish on this, yes, accumulate it, you know, eat your heart out. If you're just looking for the momentum play, wait for it to break out. You break, I defend, we play continuation together. Hi Doc, big fan. Do you think bottom is in for useless and popular memes in general? So here's what I'll say to you. If you look at like the worst performing memes and they're no longer selling off to lower lows, then you have the opportunity to say that meme bottoms are in, right? If I look at FARTCOIN, which has been probably the worst performing meme over the last couple months, right? It kind of underperformed this rally and then it's been kind of screwed. You simply have to look at a coin like this and you say, okay, if a coin that has higher market cap, that's probably, you know, a coin that nobody cares about. If this one looks bottomed, then all memes are likely bottomed. And I'd say the level here, right, is back above this anchored from the March lows or down here at weekly demand. So where we are right now, no man's land, the best entries are going to be lower at 65 or above at 90. Later, Nelly. What do you think about the OI dominance chart that everyone's been sharing? The one where altcoin OI has exceeded Bitcoin OI? I think that's pretty strong signal. The one caveat that I would throw in is the prior 2 times that is flipped, we were in a Bitcoin dominance uptrend. This time we are kind of breaking down on Bitcoin dominance. So what I would say is the last 2 times it turbo topped altcoins for like 6 months or 8 months or longer. They were like mega top signals, right? This time around, I would take it more of a local top signal versus a mega multi-month, 8-month type of top signal. All right, anyone have any non-chart request questions? When I do too many chart requests, I get fatigued pretty quickly. I don't like being a chart bot that much. If we mix it up a little bit, I can go back to chart requests in a minute. In a little bit. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. See how we're looking. Just an ugly New York session. There's nothing for anyone. Nothing for bulls, nothing for bears. Not even clean intraday trades. What have you been up to other than crypto? Tell us about your life. Not too much. Joined Fantasy Football League with the friends. I'm trying to get NFL tickets for not this weekend, but next weekend. What else? I went to a little pre-open sushi experience with a girlfriend over the weekend. Is this dude in Florida that has 2 Michelin star restaurants. He's opening a 3rd restaurant. I guess he's obviously trying to go for a third Michelin starred restaurant. And we went there and it was a really small gathering, 5 couples, and they took us through everything. They taught us how to make sushi rolls. Like, we had a hands-on experience, so it was pretty fun. Not much else, man. I had a lot of burnout last month, going into early this month. A lot of that is dissipating a little bit, but I need to overcome a little bit more. This year, I've taken it much easier than the last 3. Just so much easier than the last 3, but I still didn't give myself enough of a vacation or break or time away. My day is wake up, update Paragon, update trades I'm looking for, trade New York session if there's trades available, update Paragon again, do streams, right? It's non-stop, like something. So it gets pretty fatiguing. This is a job also, man. It's not 9 to 5, man. It's kind of 24/7. It could be as long as you want it to be. Do you rotate or do overall portfolio risk on following the 4-year cycle? Could you ask that question again? I don't think I understand. Do you rotate or do overall portfolio / risk on following 4-year cycle? Yeah, feel free to ask that again. I'm not quite getting the question. Do you check liquidation heat maps? No, I don't check liquidation heat maps. I prefer just regular order book heat maps. And the spot-based skew on them. I find that much better. If I'm going to look at any order book data, I'm going to look at the spot-based skew on Bitcoin versus anything else. You planning to get World Cup tickets? No. Where's World Cup this time around? We're in 2025. Isn't World Cup... When's World Cup? 2026? Is it in America? hands-on experience, you say? Yeah, I mean, they set up, like, they use the entirety of the restaurant. Like, they obviously used, like, the sushi bar for omakase, and they had, like, cocktail pairings for every drink. All the couples were wasted, dude. They served, like, 7 cocktails. By the end of the night, it was, like, a 2-hour something experience. Everyone was really tipsy. It was kind of funny. And then everyone drove home like nothing happened. Like, do you alter your bullishness on long term? If we hit a crypto winter, for instance, after a blow off top, or make major changes to your... So, yeah, so I'm already pretty cash heavy. So what I did is I set out goals for myself for this cycle, what I thought were really ambitious kind of goals for myself, to like 100x my net worth, right? And I actually ended up from bottom to top like 200xing my net worth, paid taxes throughout the way and everything. It's been kind of unbelievable, right? So I paid myself December of last year, January this year. Like, that was where I took a lot of money out of the markets. And for this year, you know, I didn't really have any conviction bets, right? So I thought to myself, I can either just try playing alt narrative rotations and stuff like that, or I can focus up on intraday trading. And that's what I did, right? So most of the year this year, I've been highly focused on pressing size on Bitcoin trades and just continuing to upsize and up risk tolerance and my execution on low time frames and intraday and Bitcoin itself. And that's been really fun for me. That's been my core focus. I probably won't be giga alt focused, heavy capital allocations in alts until we get probably another reset, and then I'd probably do a lot of more fundamental based analysis to find what my core conviction is. Because right now, like, the narratives we have are solid. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like the treasury company narratives, they're solid, right? I'm not taking anything away from that. Those are really good things. You see Solana ripping, you know, outperforming Bitcoin and ETH and everything like that. Before that, you had the ETH narrative, ETH ripping. These are quality trades, right? Between the lines, you have Hyperliquid trending really hard. You have stuff like Athena with the stablecoin narrative, Pump Fund with their buybacks and everything. So there's like solid stuff happening. There's really still quality trades, but there's nothing that I can just be like, I'm going to accumulate this coin. It's depressed. It's at low prices. You know, I want to hold it for a while and see a thesis being completed on this. I don't have any of those. So for me, it's either rotating capital into what's hot and being locked in there, or being locked in on my trading. And I've chosen to do the latter. America, Mexico, Canada, but majorities in America. I mean, if there's something nearby, I mean, why not? Would be a cool experience. Can you share some of your high conviction trades except Pepe? What was your game plan? Okay, so we can talk about the ONDO one, right? We talked about it a little bit briefly already. So ONDO was another core conviction play. It was something that was heavy in my portfolio, and it grew into being heavy in my portfolio. When I initially allocated this, it was only like, I'd say 8% or less. I think it was under 8. I think it was like 7 to 8, something like that, of the capital at this time. And that was just like spare cash that I had coming out of this, right? So we had our ETFs going live. We had our ETF sell-off. I was bullish on this sell-off when we started reclaiming values after tagging the weekly. So you guys know the core part of my system is if the daily trend is lost, I look for the weekly. We tagged the weekly. We started reclaiming the daily. We started reaccepting back in this prior value, in this prior range. And I went risk back on. So I went risk on at these lows on Pepe and a whole bunch of other stuff. Actually, I already had Pepe, but I think I added some down there. But ONDO was a new coin. And at this time, 2023, 2024, new coin launches were really clean trades. Like, there was a bunch of new coin launches where I would just ape the listing. Like, make sure I was available with capital ready to just ape the listing candles, right? And even if it was just one day, they would provide good trades. So ONDO is actually one of them, which shout out PC Principal. He actually put this coin on the map for me. He was talking about it a week or two before it even launched on CT, and I did a little, DD on it, and I was like, oh, BlackRock coin, RWA, brand new, backed by this, that, and the other thing. Man, this sounds really too good to be true, right? It doesn't seem like it's on many of CT's radar. Like, let's send this one. So that became the core narrative Obviously, it did really, really, really well. But that was another core conviction play. It wasn't just shiny new thing. It was actually, there's a narrative behind this thing that I can get behind. And I'm telling you guys, like, outside of the first day, when this thing was chopping around for about 30 days, it wasn't fun, right? Because you're doubting yourself and you're wondering, you know, is this going to bleed out to zero? We're above the listing anchored, we're below the listing anchored, we're doing this, like, is it going to sell off to zero? Are we going to get that pump? Is it fairly valued? Is it undervalued? So you have to deal with that, and the core conviction just came from, let's keep it simple, BlackRock narrative, RWA, brand new and shiny coin. We don't have a lot going on. Let's hold and let's send it. And yeah, that was another core conviction play from this cycle. Early on, Render was one of them. We had a big AI narrative. Render was really, really strong early in this cycle. It showed really clean trend respect. I remember this from the yearly open rally from 2023. So I'd been watching this coin from, like, basically the start of our bull market. And it was an unbelievable trend respecter on the 4-hour, right? Like I said, we don't have many of these, but we used to have bangers like this all the time. So this was something that I watched for a good period of time, and I actually was late to picking up spot on this one. I picked it up like over here, like at $2. I actually made plans. Like, I thought it was going to bottom here, and I kind of fumbled some entries. I overtraded a little bit. In 2023, I've been very vocal on record that Q4 of 2023, I was over trading a little bit. I was a little bit out of the rhythm. I was unhappy with my, you know, I'd say underperformance, right? I came out of Q4 2023 making money, but I think I fumbled a lot of things, right? This was, for me, really clean, high conviction trade, holding the daily, holding this clean SR that I had here, consolidating, and I was able to pick up a bunch of spot along this rally and rode it off to 14. Right, I had 14 as my target, but when we're up here, I was like, that seems like the evolving aura of this trade is too good. And I remember getting hate on CT for selling up here. I was like, I'm done, right? And they're like, why would you sell your AI coins in a secular AI bull market? People were like giving me shit for closing this one out. That was a big win. Another big win was on, do you guys remember APU? That was another compounded trade into PEPE. Rode that for a 20x initially, compounded that one, rode it for another 4 or 5x, full stacked that whole bag into PEPE around the election day. That turned out to be an unbelievable, like, started off from very small allocation, and it turned out to be an unbelievable, like, 3 trade compounded trade, 2 on APU itself, and then full stacking the bag into PEPE. Solana, that was another core conviction bag. This is what was heaviest weighted in my portfolio for a long time. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like, down here, I made the plan. I was like, you know, I want to buy this down here, right? And I actually bought a little bit of this capitulation at 11, but when it bled out to right here to $7, I could not bring myself to buy this. I was literally too scared at $7 to buy this. My 2 entries on Solana initially were $11 and $14. So I actually bought, like, when it bounced upwards and reclaimed and got back into here. I've bought more, but those are my Solana purchases. And the reason for that was I felt fundamentally that it was being overburdened by FTX. I think CT and the crypto markets in general were, like, attributing too much of Solana to the FTX thing. And I didn't think that was as extreme as people made it sound, right? So I bet on Solana, and I did a lot of trade. I remember buying this one. This was a hero ball trade for me. This was something where Solana got delisted from Robinhood, and there was 2 things happening right here. One was, I think, a fund went under. They had a lot of allocations to altcoins, and they were liquidating all their altcoins. This was a massive altcoin bleed across the market. Like, you guys think you have it bad now? These are 45% moves down in a week, right? These were painful at the time. And I made the game plan way before this happened. Way before this. Where's the daily block? I still remember the exact trade that I took. I highlighted this daily block and I said, if we ever revisit this for any reason, I am going to be giga bullish here. And it happened with FUD, and that FUD was Robinhood delisted it. Altcoins were being sold off by everyone in the market. Like Matic was strong at the time, I believe, and it was selling off like crazy. Like the whole altcoin market got destroyed, and Robinhood got delisted at the lows. And I bought this, and just a month later, we had the XRP won the SEC court case this day. And this was one of the most euphoric moments I've had in markets, even to this day. Like I could not believe what was happening in this location. I was like, holy fuck. Unbelievable. Like we had the XRP news, I think it was like 3-4 p.m. I lost it. Where'd it go? It's like 3 p.m. or something like that. It was later in the day. And then we had the brand new daily open, and Solana wicked to $33. I was like, holy fuck. But yeah, compounded Solana a whole bunch down here. I took a bunch of trades on Solana. I actually fumbled this on the way up. I talk a lot about Q4 2023. One of the things that I did is when this started pumping a lot, I misunderstood what a consensus trade was, right? It felt like everyone was against Solana. You guys don't even remember how much people hated Ansem for bull posting Solana down here. And I was one of the few Solana bulls on the timeline. Like one of very few Solana bulls on the timeline. And I remember everyone submitting to Solana during this pump. And I felt like, man, you know, this thing is overheated. Everyone's in the trade. I'm going to take a step back. It's a good time for me to rotate my Solana bag into Ethereum. And I actually did that. Around $50 to $60, I sold 80% of my Solana, and I moved it into ETH beta plays. I moved it into LDO, Arbitrum, and Optimism. And I had to hold those for like a 2x over a couple months. Meanwhile, Solana, like had I done nothing, it was outperforming all those coins. And my rotated bags were like doing nothing. They were like doing this bullshit. Meanwhile, Solana just kept on grinding upwards. So those trades that I did with the rotation ended up being okay. But luckily for me, this thing pulled back and I was able to buy my shit back. It actually wasn't here. I'm not going to say it was over here. This is where I bought my Solana back. And yeah, compounded into this rally. I remember buying this dip on Solana, holding through all this chop, selling on these highs, compounding one more time, selling on the Trump candle. So these were high conviction trades for me too. How'd you set that TP on render? It was just a fib. It was like the 1618 fib. It was hard for me at the time to find out what a reasonable valuation was on render because we didn't have too many comparable market caps. Like we didn't have too many AI coins. And out of the ones that we had, it was like FET, render, and I think like Tau. And there wasn't too much that you could compare it to. It's, you know, like if you're chasing a coin, if you're like, hey, this coin is top 20 and my coin is like 85, how am I gonna, you know, take point A to point B, right? With render, there was no comparable valuation. So I was like, I don't really know how to value this once it's in price discovery. So I used the all-time high of the 2021 cycle, drew a fib, and the 1618 was around $14. Last one I'll mention, and I'll get off this topic, was Kaspa. This was another coin that I absolutely nailed bottom to top. I remember people telling me about this one on the run-up. I faded a lot of people. I did not buy this run-up. I traded it just a little bit, and I made the game plan that if we retraced into weekly demand plus weekly trend, I am going to pick up a spot bag, and I am going to absolutely send this one. So I picked up a spot bag of Kaspa, weekly demand, weekly trend, and then I started trading this all summer. All summer, all I did was like focus on Kaspa. It wasn't listed on Binance Perps. It was only listed on MEXC Perps. So I was trading it on MEXC Perps for the entirety of the summer. And I sold it when it got listed on Binance Perps. So when it got main charactered, I did a much better job of understanding, okay, people are finally submitting to this. And you got the Binance listing. That's when I sold my Kaspa bag. So these are the main kind of core conviction, heavy, compounded, and spot-based plays that I had this cycle, and served me really, really well from 2023, 2024. Okay, enough of that. I could keep going. There's, you know, if I look through my like CoinGecko account, I think I've owned spot in like 50 different coins this cycle, but I just listed the ones that were, you know, the biggest returns, you know, biggest bangers. All right, Doc, how do you turn off on the other standard deviations on the VWAP suite? It's right here in settings. All right, everything you need here is in the settings. You can't see it anywhere in settings? DM me or message me in Paragon. We'll go over it after the stream. Why is the New York session so shitty lately? I don't know if it's lately. It's been shitty for almost the entire year. New York Open sell-offs have been kind of the staple of intraday mean reversion trades for me. It's been a meta that I've used and used pretty well this year. It's been a core part of the intraday system was, you know, if you're long into New York session, make sure you close that shit pre-New York Open. And if you're looking for longs, just wait patiently for New York Open because you'll probably get an entry. How much percentage you size into your high conviction trades and how much percentage on-train trades like Popcat, Apu, FARTCOIN? It depends on the coin. I don't have like a standard calculation of, oh, this is the only amount of capital I'll reserve. It's just basically a takeaway of how much is already allocated and how much risk I want to take. So it's a mental calculation of how much I'm willing to risk for how much I could potentially, you know, get the reward on. It's not just like, oh, you know, I'll only size 5% into these coins and I'll save 30% for this. There was times this cycle where PEPE was 80% of my entire net worth. Those were, you know, intraday, just 5-8% moves on PEPE were very hard. There was a lot of anxiety during those times because that was capital I was never used to seeing. So it was hard. You know, a blessing in disguise, I'm going to share this one with you guys. During this rally right here on PEPE, it did a 10x over a couple weeks. And there was several times during this rally where I was like, bro, take some profit, take some profit, take some profit, take some profit. Luckily for me, I was in Lake Tahoe on a snowboard trip with my friends and I didn't have access to my accounts. So it was just so fortunate for me that I didn't actually overtrade this and fumble this. And a couple weeks later, when we had this over under, you know, set these highs, deviated the highs, lost the 4-hour trend. That was the de-risk meter. That was the de-risk point for me. FET Q1 2024 was also what dreams are made of. Yeah, FET was a banger for sure. I took a couple trades on FET back then, but I didn't hold any FET spot. What do you think about PENDLE? I think looks better than most alts, no? I think Magus owns PENDLE. Either owns it or he trades it. I don't know, one or the other. He does talk about it a lot. Let's see. A better PENDLE chart. Yeah, high time frame, giga range bound. Currently bullish market structure with setting higher highs and higher lows. Trading down in the weekly. I don't know if you're going to want to put too much weight on the weekly because it is pretty flattened out. Ideally, what you want to see for something like this on PENDLE is for this region to hold, right? So if PENDLE could chop and build value here, you would be looking at this, draw a composite volume profile, look to bid the dips at the discount, de-risk at the highs. If you get the expansion out of the highs, you can look to play trend continuation. That would be the way that I'd play PENDLE. You want to bet on the weekly holding and a higher low holding because it has held really clean bullish market structure so far. I remember the story of Cass, but yeah, I mean, I tend to tell these stories again and again, and I hear myself as I tell them. Like, you guys have probably heard these stories so many times. When would you have sold useless if you bought the low at 15 2 weeks ago? So a thing that happens when you buy things that are high conviction. So if you bought this at 15, you're looking for, hey, has it reclaimed the range and has it broken market structure? It's done both of these things, right? So how are you, what your game plan is going to dictate how you take profits on this, right? So if, let's say, for example, I bought spot. What I do as a trader, if I'm bullish on an altcoin, not only do I buy the spot, this I'm talking about old, not 2025 doc. I'm talking about, the way that I played these things before, like the Caspa story. If I'm high time frame, fundamentally giga bullish on something, not only will I buy spot, but I will also trade it to the upside. So I will look to trade all of these moves, right? And the way that I pay myself along these things is if I'm capturing, perp trades, I'm locking in those gains on the perp trades. It makes me not touch my spot bags. I kind of go with like, oh, okay, it's okay if it retraces. It's okay as long as this high time frame structure is good. As long as the overall thesis is okay, I don't need to touch the spot bag, right? So for this, let's say I bought spot. I still would not be doing anything with the spot. I'd be upset that we're trading down here at this moment, but I would not be doing anything with the spot this moment. If I long this, I would be taking profits at the prior high, right? If we got the pullback, I'd be looking for, like we got the range reclaim right here, almost retest, perfect retest of the range low. That's an opportunity for me to compound longs. Once we set a higher high right here, again, de-risk. Then you look for trend trades. If you want to play trend continuation, when the trend loss, you take a step back and you look for the next trend to come in. I know there's a lot of doodles on here, guys. I understand. When this is trading below here, I'm not knife catching anything on the perps down here. I said there's no structure, there's no trends. I'm going to take a step back, let it do its thing. I probably wouldn't be touching my spot. Since I'm hypothetically giga bullish on this, I'm not touching my spot. I'm basically invalidating myself on a spot basis, like a lower low, right? How much percent you size your high? Okay, we already talked about that. Can you talk about how much each of these trades grew your port? PEPE was for sure the biggest one. It was the biggest win. It was the highest conviction. It was the biggest size. It was the most compounded size. It was the time where I actually took the gains and didn't keep any of the gains. I was reinvesting them and compounding them because, guys, I have a video or a stream that I did with another trader who's no longer on CT, but his name was Bombay Trillionaire. And my account was, I don't know, 500 followers, 1,000 followers, something like that. It was a small account, and he already had like 15,000 followers. And he invited me on stream one day, and he was asking me what my convictions were. And I was talking about PEPE with him. And I told him that I had made some on the initial run-up. So basically when PEPE launched on chain, I faded it. Faded at 1 million, faded at 5 million, faded at whatever. I eventually bought it at like 80 million or 90 million, 80 or 90 million market cap. It was basically listed on MEXC. And then it ran to 1.4 billion. And I was lucky enough, like the way that I traded this was not perfect. I didn't like full stack the top. I was basically selling the entire way up because I had never experienced that. I had never experienced a coin that I bought doing a 10x over the course of like a week or two. I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know how to handle those returns. And they were, wasn't like a lot of money for me, but for me, I was like, holy shit, this doesn't seem rational. Like I'm going to take profits. And when it retraced, that was when I built the conviction in it. And I basically told him on stream that day, is like, whatever money I made from this trade, all of it is going into PEPE, and I'm holding it till it flips SHIB. When it flips SHIB, I'll take profits, right? Obviously, I compounded a long time along the way, but it was like an all or none play for me. It grew from a very, mediocre amount of the portfolio to a lot of money. And if you want to see, I think I've posted my P&L curve on like the spot portfolio, the net worth, the, perp charts throughout CT over the years. I'm sure you could, keyword P&L or something like that on Twitter search and you can find it. So if you're curious, you can see kind of stuff like at least percentage wise on there. Are you willing to share a hint how much you roughly made about PEPE? It was 7 figures. What did you misunderstand about the crowded trade? What I changed was instead of looking at sentiment alone, I looked at sentiment plus momentum. So what I was failing to recognize on Solana when I rotated out too early was it has momentum, it has trend. So I don't need to use my brain. This is also another example of it on PEPE. Rather than using my brain to say it's too expensive, I let the chart tell me that momentum is dissipating. I let trends breaking tell me, hey, it's cooked. Rather than putting my brain power in there and just being like, oh, it's so expensive, I need to take profits. I just let the trade play out. When the trends are lost, then I know a retrace is coming. So that's what I got wrong about Solana. Did I miss the link review? Yeah, I haven't done link. Low sound. No one has mentioned that so far. Maybe I was just far away from the mic. The P&L swing on Pepe with 80% net worth is crazy. It was intense, man. It was a hard time. I used to drink a lot back then to deal with stress and anxiety. Thanks, I learned so much in your streams. Happy to hear it, man. That's what they're here for. But anyways, guys, we have hit probably the end of the stream there. A lot of yap today. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you missed the Bitcoin outlook, it's the beginning of the stream. Those are going to be the plans for the week. That's how I'm going to be trading. Those are the trades all based on Bitcoin. I think we have some clean stuff this week. We have clean levels to work with. And I am still optimistic going forward. I am not trying to overthink the market. I'm just trying to trade my levels and the kind of, sell-offs being absorbed into the key levels that I'm looking for, momentum loss and everything like that. Just rinse and repeat the same mechanics, same concepts that I preach about. If you guys want to learn more, feel free to join Paragon. I'm sure we still have a discount code running. It was Mojito. I don't know if that's still running. We'll probably do another big discount soon, but if you want to know the ins and outs of how I trade on an intraday basis or anything like that, feel free to jump in there. Shout out to the stream sponsors in Coinbase Advanced and BonkBot and Telemetry. I'll probably do a little bit more yap on-chain next week. We're going to talk about the on-chain stuff that I've been doing. I have set out kind of like a fun little side challenge for myself to run up 1 sol to 100. It's around 5 sol right now. I don't, someone sent me some tickers yesterday in the DMs, one of my friends. Haven't gotten a chance to look at them so far this week, but if there's anything there, maybe we can take some trades live on stream next week. Black Friday discounts? Yeah, probably. Black Friday's a ways away, though. That'll be like November, right? But those are the biggest discounts of the year, the Black Friday ones. Anyways, hope you guys have a good one. I will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in. Later, boys. And probably one girl.